Hey guys, in this lesson we're going to do evaluating polynomials and what does it mean to actually evaluate a polynomial. So what it means is to actually find a y value for a given x. So it's like you're trying to find that the ordered pair, or like what y value would you have if I told you what the x value was, or maybe vice versa, it just depends. So graphically you would have to graph the polynomial, and then follow the graph to find the y values given the x. Oops, sorry guys. Find the y value given the x. Numerically, you can also find the y value with a table of values. Desmo is really nice that you can actually graph the equation, and then you can also, it will give you a table of values. I'm going to show you that in a sec, what actually comes up, but then you would just look through the table of values, find the appropriate x value, and then look at the y value that's with it. And then substitution, this is where you would put the x value into the equation, and solve for y. Which is also just like evaluate. So you would actually calculate it out and figure out what it is. I'm going to show you how to do how we do all three of those, and then with an example, and you'll notice that you always get the same answer, or you should get the same answer if you're doing that correctly. So here we go. Consider the polynomial function f of x equals x cubed plus 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. Using a graphing application, we're going to graph the function. We can use the value slash trace function to determine the y value when x equals 2, and use the table of value feature to determine the y value when x equals 2. I'm going to move over here. I actually did this in Desmos. You guys probably try it in Desmos. Just like put this equation in, and then you should be able to get the same screens that I did. So I'm going to move over and show you what I got. So here you can see I've actually graphed it in Desmos, and then I just took a picture of it and basically put it in here for you guys. So try it to see what you get. But this is the graph that you should get, and it comes up here. And the question was, what does y equal when x equals 2? So graphically, you would go to your graph and you would be like, okay, well, here's 2. And then you would follow... that's not 2, that's 1. Here's 2. You would follow it up to see, and then it actually hits right there, and that is 11. So you would say, well, then y equals 11. So super easy to do it on a graph. If you have it, you might have to do some zooming in or zooming out, which is really easy to do on Desmos. You would just push the plus and minus that's on the side over here, or do your settings and change the window, which I think we've done a little bit of that, but you guys can practice if you need to. The other thing it might do is if you push is the nice thing kind of for part 2 with the table of values is if you push this button that's up at the side where you put your graph, it will give you a table of values. So it will, you push this and then they have like a little chart thing. So you would push that so it give you a table of values. And then you can see right on the table of values that when x equals 2, y equals 11. So the graphing calculator or Desmo's app will work really well to give you those values just by graphing it and just by doing a table of values. The last thing is to evaluate the polynomial by substitution. Now, the reason I'm showing you all three is because sometimes they don't give you the actual form, like the formula or the polynomial expression. They don't give that to you and they only give you the graph. So that's why I showed you how to do those. But in this case, they did give us the function. So it's really super easy to do this, and you've probably already done it before, but just a reminder. If we're going to evaluate by substitution, we're just going to take that 2, and they usually write it like this. So that means you're going to substitute the 2 in. Everywhere you see the x, you're going to put 2. So it becomes 2 cubed plus 2 to the 2 squared minus 3 times 2 plus 1, and then just calculate it. So we're actually just going to do some math. 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 cubed, is 8. Plus 2 squared is 4 times 2, which is 8. 3 times 2 is 6, so minus 6, and then plus 1. And then we'll add it. So 8 and 8 is 16, minus 6 is 10, plus 1 is 11. So you can see that in this case, when x is equal to, f of x or y is equal to 11. What do you notice about the results for parts A and B? How do they relate to the graph? I hope you notice they are all the same. And they should be, you should get the same answer whether you do a graph and trace it or find the value of it. You should get the same if you were to do a table of values, and you should get the same if you just do some substitution. Otherwise, if they're not all the same, then you probably did a little bit of math that's not quite correct, and I would go back and just check it again. But yeah, all three ways work. The questions for this lesson are going to focus on doing different things with it, mostly substitution, but probably do some graphing as well. But I know you guys can all do this. It's a nice, super easy lesson. Okay, bye guys.